Bob Johnson with BK&W Model Works coming at you with another video. This time outside my shop. It's going to be a little ambient noise, but I think we can deal with it, and it'll be nice to have a little bit of a change of scene. So today I'm going to be talking to you about my 151 coffee shop build, which was my first experiment with photo lamination and using photographs, actual photographs, to make a structure. And here you see a picture of that building. It's a coffee shop in Haltom City, Texas that I used to frequent. It's near Angelo's Hobbies. And what struck me was it's a very simple structure. It's basically a box, easy to laminate photos on the side and replicate some of the glass and other things that are on the structure. So that's why I chose it. I'm going to go into a little bit of how I did this project and give you some details about construction, but I will do a much deeper dive in a subsequent video. I'll do another structure as well before I do that video. Here is the scaled photographs that I used to photo laminate on the structure. There's at least 2 copies of every side of the building. So I just cut these out and actually used them to make the structure. Now here you can see the front of the building. Here's a picture of the actual building, and you can see how many obstructions there are. There's umbrellas, there's furniture. All that has to be removed during the digital production process. And here's a picture of the front after I'd cleaned it all up. I'd even added some clouds as reflections in some of the new panels I'd added, just to create some realism to it. Also on the back, you'll see there were a lot of bushes and things that had to be removed, so there was quite a bit of digital work that had to be done before I got to this photograph with all of these clean sides ready to be used. Now additionally, one of the things that I did here was I tried to simulate the glass part of the structure by masking off the sides, the parts of the photos that were going to be just the concrete work or the brickwork, and spraying the window portions gloss. I think that came out pretty well. I also did an entire video about the protective sprays that I was trying to use on these photographs, because when you start gluing to photographs, you could have problems, so I wanted to protect the photographs. Now here's a shot of the construction of the core. Sorry, I had some better shots and I didn't see them until too late, but it's basically a rectangle of black styrene, and I used some hollow plastruck square girder to reinforce the corners and make sure it was at a right angle. Very simple process. There is a slight slope to the roof, so it's not a complete rectangle. It does have the back is a little shorter than the front, but other than that, it's a very basic structure. Now I glued it's a pretty simple process of gluing the photos to the core. I just put a little glue on the side, spread it around with my finger, and this is the glue that I used, Tight Bond, and that worked really well, I think. In hindsight, I probably would have roughened up the surfaces of the core with some sandpaper beforehand, just to make sure that we had a good bond, but so far so good. Now the next step was to add 3-dimensional details to bring the structure to life, right? It's just a box. It doesn't, so there's awnings, there's a roof, a few other details I added to give some 3-dimensionality to the structure. So the first thing I did was scratch build the awnings and the roof. And again, I just used a core of the same black sheet styrene, and added some material around the edges to give it depth and match what the original looked like. And of course the roof is a corrugated material, so I had some corrugated sheeting that I used to put on top of there. Very simple. And here's a photo of the actual roof so you can see what it looks like, and I replicated those standpipes and things like that. Then I painted the roof and the awnings red, and I used Montana Black's Bloody Mary red to do this. Although I'm in my shop, I haven't unpacked most of my workshop, most of my tools. I can't find any paintbrushes. I don't have my airbrush set up yet. So I just was stuck with rattle cans and applying paint with toothpicks. Pretty basic stuff, but it worked out okay. And using a marker here and there. I didn't have any paint markers, I was just using regular Sharpie markers. But I think it came out all right nonetheless. Now the eaves of the structure are actually wood planks that are clear finished. So I replicated that with some prints off the internet and cut them into strips and glued the eaves and the bottoms of the awnings onto the structures. And here's a shot of the finished eaves. So you can see how that came out. I replicated the lights just by putting little white dots on there. I don't think many people are going to be looking at the eaves anyway. Now here's an early construction shot, just a glamour shot. I dropped the roof on without gluing it and did some photos. Looked like it was coming out okay. I then attached the awnings at a slight angle, or they're at an angle. Maybe the angle on my model is a little sharper than the angle in the prototype, but you know, it looks pretty good to me. So I attached the awnings, and then this picture shows me attaching the roof and weighting it down. But before I did that, I got things a little out of order here. Before I did that, I did apply the cables that hold the awnings in place before I put the roof on. And so I stretched some sprue to make those cables, put a little drop of glue on there to simulate the turnbuckles on the cables, and then I put the roof on. So that's the sequence of construction there. Maybe I got the, wow, there's a carpenter bee buzzing me. Those things can be aggressive. Now another feature of the original is that the signage, the word coffee, the 151 circle, are raised off the surface of the building. And there's also power boxes on the back, you know, like utility panels for incoming power and things like that that are raised. And so this is, these are some of the cutouts that I did. I cut out extra copies of the photographs. I had extra copies, so I cut out the signage or the boxes. I glued them to black styrene, cut to the right shape, and then glued them onto the structure to provide some three-dimensionality. Here's a shot of the back of the actual building. You can see on the back and on the street side there are these raised signs. Here's the rear of the model with the sign boxes added. I also added some lights. There were some sconce type lights, so I just cut some little triangular trapezoidal shapes of plastic, black plastic, and I tried to simulate a little light underneath there and glued those on as well. And you can see the signs on the street side of the building. Those are the big signs, and those have three-dimensionality as well in the prototype that are like a foot tall. And here's a shot of the model with the raised signage on the street side as well. You can see that there in front of the car. So here's a finished shot of the structure with an HO car for scale in front of it. I'm calling it done at this point. I haven't done the parking areas, some of the stanchions and things around the structure. There's a trailer on the non-serving side, the non-street side. You know, all that will come, but I need to know exactly where it's going to go on the layout before I start doing all that stuff. And I'm ready to move on to another project. Here is an AI rendering of that picture, which another look at it. I think it came out pretty well, and I highly recommend you trying this. You know, a photo laminated structure is not competition quality. Doesn't have any interior details. Hard to light, you know, so, but it's relatively quick and it's totally different. It utilizes their different skills, you know, digital photo manipulation skills, things like that. So, and I think it comes out pretty well. It really looks like the original. So that's all I've got for you today. Bob Johnson with PK&W Model Works signing off. Keep on modeling.